Hi everyone, it's James here. Welcome to another video. So today I'm going to finally show the jazz fusion records that I picked up this year. This is a video which is long delayed. One of the reasons for that is I do find it quite challenging talking about this kind of music, and so let's see how we get on. Jazz fusion is a genre which I never really used to like back in the day. It wasn't something which really appealed to me. I think I used to find it overly virtuosic, almost like musical gymnastics really. This is a record which kind of illustrates that. This is one I picked up earlier this year, Billy Cobham and Inner Conflicts. I would describe the actual title track of this record, Inner Conflicts, as actually bad music. It's Billy Cobham on synthesizers, drums and percussion, synthesizer programming by Billy Cobham and John Bowen, and it's just awful. It's over fussy, over complicated. I mean, incredibly for Billy Cobham, and he's such an incredible drummer, it doesn't really have a sense of groove to it. All these rhythms all clattering over each other, really quite bad. Fortunately, the album picks up after that, and side 2 is pretty good actually. It's got a kind of Latin-y feel to it. Big brass section, timbales, Latin percussion, John Scofield guests on side 2, so yeah, fortunately side 2 redeemed it, but the first track is everything that you don't want in jazz fusion really, just overcomplicated, showing off, no real sense of melody, just a lot of wankery, shall we say. But I think it probably will be a keeper, we'll see. Like I said, side 2 is good, so we shall see about that. I must say, you know, the rest of these records, they're nothing special really. I would describe this video as a Jazz Fusion 101. So if you're somebody who is heavily into jazz fusion and you've got a big collection of it, you're not going to find anything too interesting here. But if the genre is new to you and you're wanting to check it out maybe, then maybe some of these records will be useful to you. This is one which is incredibly common. I see this around a lot. Coliseum II. Now this band, I think were around back in the 1970s, weren't they? I think it was John Heisman who was the original chap from the band, the drummer. This is the second incarnation. It features Don Airey, whose name I know from back in the day, from Rainbow. I think he's on the album Difficult to Cure. I'm sure he's on other Rainbow albums as well. Also on this record you've got Gary Moore, of course, who's instantly recognisable there. And this record it's okay. Occasionally it's got that kind of slightly pretentious folk classical kind of feel. You know, fusion, I would argue, fusion is not one genre, it's lots of different subgenres. I think, you know, according to the background of the musician, it's either rock with a bit of funk and jazz, or it's jazz with a bit of funk, or it's, you know what I mean, it's like different combinations. This I would describe as kind of post-Hendrix, blues, rock, mixed with you know, jazz scales and jazz harmonies. It's quite classical sounding in places as well. Some incredible guitar pyrotechnics from Gary Moore. You know, I had no idea he could play like that. Obviously, you know, I know him from back in the day from albums such as whatever, you know, Wild Frontier and Thin Lizzy. But he's clearly got a very sophisticated grasp of chord progressions, and yeah, just an amazing musician really. So I'd give that one a 6 out of 10. In places it is overcomplicated and a bit kind of grandstandy. There's that thing, that kind of musical gymnastics thing going on, but there's some quite nice stuff on it from 1977, so that's Coliseum II. Now this one I have shown in a video earlier this year. I showed it not in a Fines video but in some other context, and I really like this one. This is the album Collateral by the band Passport, who are, I think they're German. The main guy in the band, he's got a name, he sounds like he should be in Tangerine Dream. Klaus Doldinger on tenor sax, soprano sax, the Moog, or the Moog, electric piano and mellotron. This is quite fleet-footed. It's got a bit of a spark to it. It kind of skips along nicely. You get the sense that these guys are well schooled in jazz music, and it definitely has a very uplifting vibe to it. Lots of complicated stuff going on, lots of very complicated progressions, but yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That was a nice pickup. That was from My Antiques Centre, 1975, and it's on APCO. So that's Passport and Collateral. I've seen Chris, the Vinyl Orchard, showing records by these guys. In fact, it might even have been that I'd seen Chris show a record by them and then I found this one. So hi Chris. Chris is your jazz fusion expert here on the vinyl community. Now these next two, this is an artist that I was sort of aware of. He worked with Frank Zappa, and he was in, I think it was in the second version of the Mahavishnu Orchestra. I've got a couple of their records with him on. French violin player, he's known as the jazz fiddle player. This is JeanLuc Ponti. He was actually on the Elton John album Honky Chateau, strangely enough. Not quite sure how that came to be, but he was. Now these are a couple of solo albums that I've got here from the 1980s. This one is from 1980, Mystical Adventures, and it's got quite a nice cover actually. There's a Stevie Wonder track on here, AS, composed by Stevie Wonder. Quite a nice version. So JeanLuc Ponti, his music, well, I did read somewhere that the 80s albums are a bit more frothy, a bit more poppy than his 1970s material, and I would certainly describe these records like that. They're quite kind of light in tone, almost sort of easy listening in places, quite funky, quite upbeat. They kind of don't place too much of a challenge to the listener. You know, they're quite easy to listen to, and his violin playing is very fluid. Occasionally, I think on this record, slightly facile, just that thing where the band is vamping between two chords and he's just basically twiddling away on the violin. Occasionally gets a little bit superficial, I think. This one I preferred. This one is from 1980 again, so that's two albums in 1 year. Civilized Evil. This one's got a funkier kind of sound, slightly blacker, and also it's got some really cool synths on it. In places it sounds a little bit like maybe Vangelis mixed with, I don't know, kind of Herbie Hancock style kind of 80s synths. There's a track called Happy Robots on here, which, as the title would suggest, has a kind of futuristic electronic sound, almost going into kind of Alan Parsons territory in places. Quite interesting. So yeah, that one I think I preferred to the other one, but both are quite pleasant, I would say. Neither of them blew me away, but both of them are quite nice to listen to, and are definitely keepers, I would say. This one in particular is a keeper. I'd love to see about the other one, but Civilized Evil by JeanLuc Ponti. Now, the rest of the records I've got here, there's three more, and they're all just really, really common. I picked up the live album by Mahavishnu Orchestra. This is Between Nothingness and Eternity, which is just a cracking live album, really. What date does it come from? 1972. Features Jan Hammer on piano and Moog. Billy Cobham on drums again, of course. Recorded August 73 in Central Park, and yeah, it's just live Mahavishnu. John McLaughlin. Can be challenging to listen to, but hey ho, there we go. And then I guess one of his big rivals in the 1970s, we've got Weather Report. This is the live album, 8:30. I found this one in Oxfam. This comes from 1979. I've got the records stored in the gatefold here to avoid having to cram them in. The gatefold is just a list of dates, and there you can see the band on the back there. Joe Zawinul there, of course, who played with Miles Davis. I saw him live years ago. I saw him, I think it was the Bridgewater Hall in Manchester. He's no longer with us, of course. Co-produced by Jaco Pastorius, assistant producer Wayne Shorter. Some fantastic playing on this one. Wayne Shorter comes out and does a big long solo in it and just drives the audience absolutely wild, just him on his own with his sax. So that was a nice pickup, quite cheap from Oxfam, that one. And this one is a record that I've known about for so many years, and I think I've seen it around, just never picked it up. But I saw this one going at Highside Records, my local market stand, a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago now, so I thought I'd finally grab the Brand X album, Unorthodox Behaviour, which I think may have been their first record. This is the band that Phil Collins was on, of course. And Phil must have been a very busy boy in 1976. I mean, that was slap bang in the middle of all those huge, enormous Genesis mega tours and recording sessions, but he still found time to play drums on this record. And I really like this. This has got a kind of witty British feel to it. There's a sort of idiosyncratic thing going on. I think with fusion music, that's the trick, isn't it? You've got all this virtuosity, you've got all this facility, but can you put your own spin on it? And for me, Brand X do that, at least on this album. I haven't heard the subsequent records, but this one has definitely got a bit of a sparkle in its eye, a sting in its tail, I would say. So I don't think, did Phil play on any subsequent records by them? Not 100% sure, but anyway, enjoyed. So Brand X, Unorthodox Behaviour. So that clears the inbox for 2021. Actually it doesn't, I just realised. I bought 3 records last week, but I've not cleaned them yet, so I'll count those as the first, part of the first batch for 2022. So hope you enjoyed that, even if jazz fusion is not your thing. Hope you found something to divert you there, and that's it for now. I will be back, I hope, before the end of the year, so in the meantime I'll take my leave. Take care, bye.